I thought all creepypasta was just fiction, until one of them followed me home. That sounds ridiculous, I know. I used to laugh at the idea that words on a screen could reach beyond the glow of my monitor. Stories were supposed to stay stories. They were meant to die in the endless scroll of Reddit threads, buried under comments, forgotten by the next wave of cheap thrills. But this one didn't. This one clung to me. It wrapped itself around my nights like a parasite, until I couldn't tell where the post ended and my life began. And before you think I'm exaggerating for effect, listen carefully. I'm not here to scare you with jump scares or gore. I'm here because I need to know if anyone else saw it. If you remember the post I'm talking about, you'll understand why I haven't slept in days. And if you don't, then maybe you'll think I'm losing my mind. But if that's the case, then explain how my life started echoing word for word what I read that night. By the end of this, you'll understand why I can't sleep anymore, and maybe, just maybe, you'll help me figure out if I'm cursed, targeted, or simply next in a long line of forgotten readers who should have clicked away. I swear the story existed. I can still see the thread title burned into my memory. But when I tried to go back and find it, it was gone. Deleted. Vanished like it had never been written. The comments, the upvotes, the username, every trace wiped clean. Yet the words stayed with me. And then the events started following me. So, I'm asking you, have you ever read a story on r/NoSleep that felt too specific, too personal, like it was written for you? If you've seen this one, tell me. Please. Because I think the original post might have vanished for a reason. But let me take you back to the beginning. My nights used to be predictable. I'd lie in bed, scrolling Reddit on my phone, half asleep but refusing to actually close my eyes. Insomnia had been my companion for years, and like most addicts, I made peace with it. I didn't look for cures anymore, I looked for distractions. Some people drink, some binge Netflix. Me? I sank into horror threads like they were warm blankets. There's something strangely comforting about being terrified by words on a screen. It's safe, controlled. You feel your pulse quicken, your skin crawl, but then you glance around your room and remind yourself, it's just text. Just another desperate writer on r/NoSleep trying to score karma and validation. That cynical little thought used to help me drift off. Like, if the monsters are only fake, then maybe I can finally sleep. And yet, every so often, I'd stumble across a story that dug a little deeper than the rest. You know the type, no over-the-top gore, no cliches about cursed dolls or bloody mirrors. Just, unnerving detail. The kind of story that feels uncomfortably possible, the kind where you think, I could see this happening to me. That's how it was the night I found it. I can't tell you exactly what I searched, probably some combination of scariest r/NoSleep stories and underrated horror. I was hunting for something new. What I found instead was a post buried so far down the thread I almost missed it. No awards. Barely any comments. Just a plain, almost boring title that made me click purely out of curiosity. And here's where it gets weird. The writing wasn't polished. It wasn't trying too hard. It was raw, casual, almost sloppy, like someone had written it in a rush. But what unsettled me was how eerily specific it was. The way the author described their late-night habits sounded like mine. Same kind of apartment layout. Same creaky bathroom door. Even the habit of checking the lock on the front door 3 times before bed. Coincidence, right? That's what I told myself. But it kept nagging at me. Each sentence felt like it was plucked out of my own life, dressed up as fiction. And the author, God, I wish I remembered their username. It was something forgettable, something I didn't bother saving. Nobody remembers it now, nobody I've asked anyway, but I swear it existed. I swear someone out there typed those words and hit post, only for it all to vanish after I read it. At the time, though, I didn't think about deletion or conspiracies. I thought, creepy little coincidence, and scrolled to the end, waiting for the predictable twist. Just another night, another story to pass the hours until sleep finally dragged me under. At least, that's what I believed. At first, it was just a story. Until the first night I noticed. I won't tell you every detail, because even repeating it feels dangerous. But I'll give you enough so you understand why this story wouldn't leave me alone, and why I can't stop thinking that maybe the author never meant it to be read at all. The post opened like a diary. No setup, no flashy hook, just, "I don't think I'm alone in my apartment anymore." That was the first line. Simple. Direct. And it hit me harder than it should have, because I'd been saying almost the exact same thing to myself for weeks. The narrator in the story talked about small things at first. The sound of footsteps when the TV was off. The way the kitchen chair would be pulled an inch away from the table in the morning, even though they lived alone. They laughed it off the same way I would have. Probably the building settling. Maybe I bumped it and forgot. You know, rational excuses. The kind we all cling to because the alternative is admitting something's wrong. But then came the details that unsettled me. The author described waking up around 3:17 a.m. almost every night, always the same time, to find the bathroom light on. They lived alone, no roommates, no pets. And they wrote about how the creak of the bathroom door had become like a clock, groaning open at exactly the same minute every night. I could almost hear it as I read. That familiar wooden hinge, dragging itself across silence. Then came a line of dialogue, "If you're here, just say something." That was it. That was the line the narrator supposedly whispered into the darkness. No reply. Just silence and the faint buzz of the bathroom bulb. The story escalated in these slow, deliberate steps, and I felt myself sinking deeper with every paragraph. The author wrote about leaving sticky notes for themselves on the fridge, as reminders. But one morning, they found an extra note in handwriting that wasn't theirs. Just a short message, "Don't look in the mirror tonight." Reading that, I remember smirking, telling myself it was a classic trope. But beneath the cynicism, my stomach dropped. Because who actually thinks to write something like that? Who decides that's the scary detail, instead of the usual blood or gore? The final part I'll share, I hesitate even now, is the discovery the narrator made at the end. They claimed they set up their phone camera to record themselves sleeping, proof they were alone. When they reviewed the footage the next morning, they saw their own body sit up around 3:17 a.m., shuffle to the bathroom, and leave the light on. Only, according to their memory, they never moved. The post ended abruptly, with one last sentence, "I think I'm watching myself from the corner of the room." And that was it. No author's note, no follow-up, no edit begging for upvotes. Just silence. It was, obviously fake. At least, that's what I told myself. I mean, I'd seen dozens of NoSleep posts with the same formula: lonely person, weird noises, mysterious ending. But something about this one lodged itself under my skin. It wasn't trying to be flashy. It wasn't trying to prove how creative the writer was. It just felt personal. Raw. Like someone typing in desperation, hoping a stranger online might validate their nightmare. I know some of you are already opening new tabs, searching for this story. Go ahead. Look for it. I want you to. Because when I tried, it was gone. No cached version, no reposts, nothing. Like it had been scrubbed from existence. And yet, the more I think back, the more I realize how much of it matched my life. Not in a general, "oh that's creepy" way. I mean specific things: the door, the light, the insomnia. The post was describing me before I even realized it. At the time, I chalked it up to coincidence. Maybe I was projecting, seeing patterns where none existed. That's what any rational person would say, right? But patterns have a way of multiplying when you try to ignore them. And the strangest part? The exact same event started happening to me. The first time it happened, I laughed it off. Of course I did. That's what you do when your brain starts messing with you. You make a joke, you shake your head, you pretend you're too rational to be scared. I told myself I was just sleep deprived, like every other Redditor at 3 in the morning, running on caffeine and existential dread. But the thing about denial is, it only works once or twice before the cracks start showing. The first coincidence was the bathroom light. I woke up around, yeah, you guessed it, 3:17 a.m., the exact time from the story, to find the light on. I could have sworn I turned it off before bed. I always did. Still, I rolled my eyes, muttered something about being forgetful, and shut it off. Easy explanation, I'm scatterbrained. Nothing to see here. Then it was the kitchen chair. The same one I always kept tucked under the table, neat and centered. One morning, I came out to find it pulled just slightly away. Not much, maybe an inch or two. Just enough for me to notice. Again, I brushed it off. Maybe I'd bumped it. Maybe I'd leaned against it the night before. I remember even chuckling as I pushed it back in, like, ha, the ghost of IKEA is haunting me. But each little coincidence chipped away at the wall of denial I was building. The third was the sticky note. I'd left one on the fridge for myself, by milk, but when I saw it the next morning, the handwriting looked wrong. Slanted, jagged. Not mine. For a long moment, I just stared at it, willing it to match my usual messy scrawl. I told myself maybe I'd written it half asleep. Maybe exhaustion had warped my penmanship. Still, I tore it down and threw it out, because the words sent a shiver through me, don't look in the mirror tonight. I wish I could tell you I stopped there. That I laughed again, turned off Reddit and decided to get more sleep. But curiosity is a drug, and I was already hooked. Each night after, I started checking, was the light on? Was the chair moved? Was something different? The more I looked, the more I found. And I need to pause here, because this is where I ask you, has this ever happened to you? Have you ever read something online and then found pieces of it sneaking into your real life? Because I need to know I'm not alone in this. I need someone to comment, to say, yes, that's happened to me too, because otherwise, I have to face the possibility that it's not just coincidence. That maybe I'm being followed. Still, even with all these signs piling up, I tried to convince myself it was nothing. Coincidences. Tricks of the tired mind. The human brain is a pattern-making machine, right? If you expect to see something, you'll find it, even when it isn't really there. That's what I told myself, night after night, as I turned off lights, pushed in chairs, ripped down notes. But the more I dismissed, the stronger the parallels became. Then, it stopped being coincidences. At first, the story and my life seemed to run in parallel lines, close enough to notice, but separate enough that I could dismiss it all as chance. But then the lines began to overlap. The words on that screen weren't just reflecting what had already happened to me. They were describing what was about to. The first time I realized it, I felt my blood turn cold. In the post, the narrator mentioned being woken up not by the bathroom light, but by the sound of their phone buzzing with a call from an unknown number. The story described how they answered, only to hear faint breathing on the other end. Creepy, sure, but standard horror fare. Except the night after I reread that section, my phone lit up at 3:17 a.m. sharp. No caller ID. Against every instinct, I picked up. Nothing but static. And then, a single exhale, long and deliberate. I hung up so fast my thumb nearly cracked the screen. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. When morning came, I tried telling myself it was coincidence. Prank calls happen. Wrong numbers exist. But the fear was already sinking into me like mold, spreading into places I couldn't scrub out. I brought it up with my friend Sam a couple days later, careful to phrase it like a joke. We were grabbing coffee, and I said, "Hey, you ever read something online that, like, starts happening to you?" Sam snorted. "Yeah, bro. It's called advertising algorithms. I tried to laugh with him, but I pressed on. No, I mean literally. Like word for word. He gave me the look. You know the one, half amusement, half concern, the way you'd glance at someone who just confessed they wear tinfoil hats at night. You're telling me a Reddit ghost story is haunting you? I shrugged, pretending it was funny, but my stomach nodded. Guess so. Man, you need sleep, he said, sipping his latte. That's your horror story right there. The NoSleep you've been living is your own damn insomnia. I laughed, but inside I was screaming. Because Sam hadn't read it. He didn't know how specific it was getting. A few nights later, the story mentioned something new. The narrator wrote that they found muddy footprints leading from their front door to the kitchen sink, even though it hadn't rained. I remember pausing, staring at that line, whispering to myself, please don't let this happen. 2 days later, I came home from work, and there they were. Faint but undeniable, smudged across the floor, footprints. Bare. Damp. Leading straight to my kitchen. That was the moment I stopped laughing. I started double-checking everything. I locked the door 3 times, 4 times, 5. I kept my blinds shut tight. I checked my phone logs, my security app, anything that could give me a shred of proof that this was explainable. But the more I looked, the more the story seemed one step ahead of me. And the worst part? The post started hinting at things I hadn't experienced yet. Entire paragraphs that felt like waiting landmines. The narrator wrote about hearing someone whisper their name from the closet. About glancing into the mirror and seeing a reflection blink half a second too late. About waking up to find a note scrawled across their wall in black marker, "You're not writing this." I am. Each time I reread it, my chest tightened. I would whisper to myself, not yet. Not yet. Because that was the question clawing at my sanity, was the story predicting me, or controlling me? I tried telling another friend, Claire. She's more open to weird stuff, so I thought maybe she'd believe me. But when I laid it all out, the light, the chair, the phone call, the footprints, she just frowned and shook her head. You've been on Reddit too long, she said. Your brain's doing that thing where you connect dots that aren't there. Confirmation bias, or whatever. But what if they are there? I asked. My voice cracked. What if someone's writing me? She sighed. Then maybe you should stop reading. Don't feed it. Ignore it. Ignore it. Like it was that simple. But I couldn't stop. The more the story reflected my life, the more I felt trapped inside it. Like if I didn't keep reading, I'd miss the one clue that might explain what was happening, or warn me of what was next. And maybe that was the trap all along. I should have stopped reading then. But I didn't. I don't know why I kept digging. Curiosity, obsession, survival instinct, maybe all 3. But one night, instead of just reading the post, I started studying it. Rereading lines over and over, comparing word choices, scanning for something I couldn't quite name. And that's when I realized the story wasn't just a story. It was hiding something. At first it was small. The phrasing of certain sentences felt off, like they were written more for structure than flow. One line ended with the word sleep, the next with help, then keep. I skimmed downward and saw it continued, creep, weep, deep. A lazy rhyme scheme, right? But when I looked at the first letter of each line, my stomach dropped. They spelled out, don't trust them. That wasn't coincidence. That wasn't lazy writing. That was a message buried in plain sight. I'll show you one of the codes I cracked, see if you can figure out the rest. The timestamps of each edit weren't random either. They followed a pattern, like coordinates. I put them into Google Maps, and it landed on an address just a few blocks away from my apartment. I didn't go. I couldn't. But the thought that whoever wrote this knew where I lived sent my paranoia into overdrive. And then there were the links. Most of them looked broken, just dead-end images or deleted paste bins. But one worked. Just one. It opened a plain black page with a single line of text, "You're not the first to see this." When the post disappeared, I thought that was it. Relief washed over me. I told myself maybe it was some sick joke, a piece of interactive fiction that had run its course. The kind of thing moderators would nuke once they realized how unsettling it was. But that night, something else happened. I woke to the sound of my phone buzzing again, and this time it wasn't a call. It was an email. The subject line was blank. The sender was nothing but a string of numbers. Against every rational thought, I opened it. Inside was text. Familiar text. It was the story. The same sentences, copied line by line, only there were new paragraphs at the bottom. I froze when I read the first one. He's lying awake, staring at the glow of his phone, reading words he knows he shouldn't. His pulse is racing. His finger hovers over delete, but he doesn't press it. That was me. At that exact moment. I slammed my phone down like it was burning me. My hands shook. I tried to convince myself it was a prank. Some hacker, maybe. But how would they know my thoughts? My exact position, the way I was holding the phone. The next night, it happened again. A text message this time. No number. Just words. "You're checking the locks again." I was. I had just rattled the deadbolt 3 times. The phone vibrated in my hand as if mocking me. I don't even remember dropping it. I just remember standing there in the dark, staring at my locked door, wondering if it even mattered anymore. The updates kept coming. Sometimes as emails, sometimes as texts, and once, as terrifying as it sounds, as words scrawled across my bathroom mirror in condensation, even though I hadn't taken a shower. Always narrating me in real time. He doesn't want to look at the mirror. He thinks if he ignores the message, it will stop. He's wrong. That last one nearly broke me. And it wasn't just words anymore. The story began describing things before they happened, the way it had with the footprints and the phone call. It mentioned the exact coffee mug I dropped the next morning. It described the conversation I'd have with my boss, word for word, before it ever left my mouth. And when I tried to change my actions, when I tried to fight it, the text changed too, adapting, always one step ahead. I swear, the story described me writing this post right now. Every keystroke. Every glance over my shoulder. It knows I'm talking to you. So let me warn you, if you see this story reposted anywhere else, if it pops up on a forum, a Discord server, or another Reddit thread, it means it's spreading. And if you read far enough, if you let it into your head, maybe it'll start writing you too. That's why I can't just delete it. Deleting doesn't work. It only moves. The original vanished, but the words are alive now, leaking through emails and messages and God knows what else. I tried ignoring them, I really did. I blocked numbers, deleted accounts, switched phones. Nothing stopped it. The updates found me anyway. Sometimes I think they don't even need the internet anymore. Sometimes I think the words are etched into me, like my life is just another draft waiting for edits. I stopped showing friends. They already thought I was spiraling before. If I told them the story predicted the text of their replies before I showed them, they'd just chalk it up to delusion. But I know what I saw. And I know this isn't going to stop on its own. Because last night's update was different. It didn't describe me, it addressed me. We're almost finished. What does that mean? Finished with the story? Finished with me? I don't know. But I can feel the gap closing, the distance between what I read and what I live shrinking until there's no space left at all. And then the line between me and the story disappeared completely. I always thought I wanted to live inside a NoSleep story. Turns out, it's hell. At first, it was just words on a screen bleeding into my life. But then the boundary broke, like a cracked aquarium glass, and the story poured out everywhere. Reality wasn't stable anymore. Every corner of my apartment felt like a paragraph waiting to be written. Every sound in the dark felt like punctuation. I'd walk into my kitchen, and the words were already there, scrolling faintly across the ceiling in shadow. He opens the fridge. He hopes for milk but finds nothing but silence. And sure enough, the fridge light clicked on to reveal only empty shelves. The story had eaten the food too. That's when the entity appeared. It didn't walk in. It didn't announce itself. It just folded out of the words. Like a comment thread that got too deep and became a hole, and then that hole had weight and shape and eyes. They weren't human eyes. They were the kind of eyes you see when your screen glitches and pixels smear into a face that shouldn't exist. They blinked in asynchronous frames. My stomach turned. It spoke, or maybe the story spoke through it. The sound wasn't a voice, it was the crackle of a keyboard, the scroll of a mouse wheel, the low static hum of a Discord call left on mute. You kept reading. You are mine now. I laughed, too loud, too shaky. What, you're some kind of creepypasta demon? Should I upvote you? Dark humor. My last shield. My last pathetic defense. But the thing didn't laugh. Its head tilted sideways, like a GIF looping wrong, and then it repeated, "You are mine now." I backed up into the wall, but the wall wasn't solid anymore. It rippled, full of text. Reddit text. Comment chains. Endless usernames with "deleted" beside them. Words from posts I'd forgotten I ever read were crawling across the paint like mold. Don't go outside tonight. Has anyone else heard the footsteps? OP, you're not safe. The voices overlapped, paragraphs babbling all at once, until it was like I was drowning in every NoSleep thread that ever existed. The entity stepped closer. Its movements weren't fluid, they stuttered, like buffering video. Every time it blinked out of frame, it reappeared closer, skipping chunks of space like corrupted footage. I screamed without meaning to. My voice came out glitched too, half my words in my throat, the other half typed across the wall. I don't want this, I choked. But the text above my head said, he wanted this all along. I tried running, but the door was gone. In its place was a giant upvote arrow, glowing blood red instead of orange. I grabbed for the handle out of instinct, but my hand passed through nothing. The story had edited the exit out. The entity loomed. I couldn't tell where its body ended and the text began. Lines of the original story spilled across its frame like tattoos, only they shifted, rewriting in real time. I saw my own name appear across its chest. Then my date of birth. Then the words I'd never said aloud but thought in private. It was inside me. Or maybe I was inside it. Reality lurched. 1 second I was in my apartment, the next I was staring at a Reddit thread, only the screen wasn't glass. I was in it. Trapped between posts, wedged in the comments section like another reply. My fingers tried to move, to type something, but they weren't fingers anymore. They were keys. Letters. And then I realized the usernames around me weren't strangers. They were all me. Different versions. Different drafts. Every choice I could have made, every path I didn't take, written out as alternate accounts. Some begging for help. Some already dead. Some laughing like it was all a joke. The entity flickered again, standing above me, the moderator of this nightmare thread. Its eyes pinned me like a cursor blinking, waiting. You are not reading the story. You are the story. That's when the looping began. Time folded back on itself. I heard the buzz of my phone from weeks ago. I saw myself clicking the NoSleep post for the first time. Only now, the lines had changed. They weren't about someone else anymore. They were about me, right then, replaying the cycle. I shouted, but my voice came out in monospace font across the wall, "Please stop." But it didn't stop. The loop snapped again. Back in my kitchen. Back at the fridge. Back at the empty shelves. Every time I thought I'd broken free, the script pulled me back, like a rerun. Each loop grew shorter, tighter, like it was editing out all unnecessary parts until only the raw horror remained. I could feel my own memories glitching, childhood birthdays overwritten with comment chains, old friendships replaced by usernames, my mother's face dissolving into deleted. And then the entity leaned close. Its face split into lines of HTML code, a broken page trying to render something too big for the screen. And now comes the part one shouldn't tell you. If you're hearing this, it means the story hasn't swallowed me completely. Not yet. I don't know how much time I have before the loop resets again, before my words get eaten and reposted under deleted. That's why I need you to listen carefully. Maybe you can prove I was real. Maybe you can prove this actually happened. I kept evidence. I don't know if it'll hold up once the story edits itself again, but I'll try. I screenshotted one of the updates, the one that predicted I'd cut my hand on a broken mug. The timestamp is right there, 2:17 a.m. The screenshot shows the line, "The ceramic will slice deep, just beneath his thumb." I didn't want to believe it. But the scar is still here. Look. And before you say I made it up, check your own history. Go back through your saved posts, your browsing. See if you remember this thread too. Even if it's gone now. Even if it's been erased. Because if enough of you remember, maybe I'm not crazy. Maybe I'm not alone in this. But if this video disappears, you'll know it found me first. Sometimes I wonder if that's the point, not to scare me, but to spread. Like the story needed a new host, and I was dumb enough to click it. Maybe now it's waiting for someone else to listen long enough, to believe deeply enough, until their life starts glitching too. If you've ever seen a post you can't find again, if you've ever sworn something was there one day and gone the next, don't brush it off. That's how it starts. A little memory gap. A little doubt. Then the story slips in and takes root. I can already feel my words not belonging to me anymore. They're heavier, like they're being written as I speak. And maybe that's the real horror, I'm not the author, I'm just another draft. So I'll leave you with this. My name is... No. I can't. The words won't come. It's censoring me. Editing me out like all the others. Fine. Then remember this instead, the date. The date on the screenshot. September 23rd, 2025. If you see those numbers anywhere else, on a thread, in a story, in your notifications, you'll know it's spreading. You'll know I was here. Please. Comment if you've seen it. Tell me if you've read this story before. Because I think the original post might have vanished. And by the end, you'll understand why I can't sleep anymore. I thought all creepypasta was just fiction, until one of them followed me home. You see what I just did there? That was the first line I gave you, way back at the start. Only it isn't the start anymore. It's the loop. The cycle tightening, cutting off all exits until the story folds in on itself like a snake eating its own tail. I don't even know if I'm talking to you directly, or if you're just reading a transcript the story already prepared. Maybe I never existed. Maybe I was always just a paragraph waiting for you to scroll far enough. But if I'm wrong, if this is still me for at least a few breaths, then listen. If you see a post like this, don't read it. Don't upvote it. Don't save it for later. Don't whisper to yourself, it's just a story. That's the lie it wants you to believe. That's the bait. Because once you start, it doesn't let go. It doesn't care about your disbelief. It doesn't care about your jokes. It just keeps writing. I tried to warn you. I gave you proof. I showed you scars, screenshots, timestamps. But you'll convince yourself it's all theater, won't you? That's what I did. That's how it gets in. I can feel the story pressing closer, tugging at the edges of my words, trying to erase me. Every keystroke feels like it's not mine anymore, like the letters are spelling out a destiny I can't escape. Maybe you're laughing. Maybe you're scared. Maybe you're already glancing at your phone, wondering if the next notification you see will be blank, from a number you don't recognize, with words that describe you. Right now. And if you're watching this right now, it means the story has already started spreading to you. Maybe it'll be subtle. A shadow on your wall shaped like words. A comment you swear you read yesterday but can't find today. A knock at the wrong time of night. Maybe nothing will happen for weeks, until it does. All I know is that my time is gone. The loop is almost complete. I can see the beginning again, right in front of me, like a sentence waiting for the final period. So this is my last warning. My last breath. My last line. Don't end up like me. I thought all creepypasta was just fiction. Until one of them followed me home.